Hi, Eden Cause, your host, bringing along my company, Just Bee, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Bee practice to do just that. P.S. Just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a psychological empath, meditation master, dimensional healer, all the things to help you within this ascension. To learn more about me, visit me at edenjustbee.com. And let's get this party started. All right, now we're going to officially start.
Hope I didn't scare anybody.
I hope not too. Not the bees. Hope you didn't scare the bees. Eden, Just Bee, spiritual boom in association with the Grassroots Warriors Network. Welcome, Brent, out of Canada, correct?
Yes. Hi. Great to be here. Thank you for having me on here with you.
You are so welcome. Okay, representing 4RBees. So those who are watching, Brent's got that really big in the background. Okay, I have seen you on many other shows and want our show to go really deep. I want to know the truth about the honeybee population decline and all the bees, actually. We, as a populace, have been subject to lies. For example, the big one right now is climate change, which we all know that is cyclical. So, and we have chemtrails and HARP and DEWs and weather manipulation. So I really want to know the truth. And I have done some investigating, so I'll pull out all of that initially and have you respond to it. We are also going to talk about sacred geometry for those who are watching, and there are a large amount of our audience is only listening to. Yet, if you're watching, I'm going to put the star tetrahedron and the tree of life because we're going to talk a lot about sacred geometry. And this isn't just about the bees, what Brent has come up with, because this is going to be interesting and we're going to chat about this. You could have gone the healthcare route and gone up against Big Pharma as well. And I know you didn't want to do that because that would have been very tricky also. So I'm just giving broad strokes on everything and we'll get more into detail in a moment. So stay tuned and I'm going to read Brent's bio in just a second. However, I have been on a lot of my shows lately. I want to bring up episode 188, talking about gold IRA scams. This is a really good episode to watch, especially Miles Franklin also talks about mints that stand the test of time and all these bogus mints that come out there. So as y'all know, I was a part of a gold IRA scam, and I was introduced to Miles Franklin. They helped me convert it. And for a lot of people, this can really be not so great. Mine turned out not to be so bad, but I really, talking about integrity in this market, I also believe that right now silver is a great way to go. I think that silver is going to bypass gold. I think that having some on hand is great. I'm also not worried about where we're going in the future. I think everybody's going to be abundant. Yeah, this is just fun. So if you decide to reach out to them, please call or email, info at Miles Franklin and put Eden in the subject line. I know them personally and I really do respect them. Okay, Brent, let's go to you. Handy dandy notes. Brent Knudsen is a visionary leader who saw early on that math, quantum physics, and frequencies would shape the future. After building and selling one of Canada's largest payment processing companies, he turned his focus to his true passion. I'm really curious about how this became your passion, exploring how sacred geometry and quantum energy can help people and the planet, heal people and the planet. Today, as founder and CEO of 4RBees, Brent has a leading global mission to protect pollinators, restore balance to nature, and bring quantum wellness technology to the future. All right, before we get into all this, I want to know how you became aware of the Great Awakening, the Matrix, the vast untruths of our world. What maybe did it for you?
Well, it was really through my occupation, or what I really was trained in, which was like forensic mathematics, getting into algorithms to set up how to, in the case of the company that I started, Tangerine, we were moving in the early days of setting up debit and credit.
Yeah.
How that all worked in the 90s. But in through dealing with that, and I'm speeding this up, in dealing with looking at that mathematical and those codes, what was always coming to me were certain geometric forms where over and over I could see them, and then that triggered me to start looking into a thing called sacred geometry.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Right?
How did you start seeing these?
Because when I was doing the original algorithms and coding for how it was to do the movements of how
Mm-hmm.
you put into the equipment and so forth, geometry basically is the math. Math is everything. And what happened is that the way the structures were looking kept taking on certain forms. They were looking at certain shapes and designs, and those are what led me to look at that. I saw them somewhere else as well. So I started to notice that all those shapes and designs were also in all kinds of religions, right in their buildings. And
Mm-hmm.
then that pushed me into sacred geometry, and I started looking, and then I saw in our history that it was everywhere. We'll talk about that. And then I saw in nature, like snowflakes, structures
Yeah.
everywhere we looked, they were in that as well. So it couldn't be excused from any of it. What it was it turned out to be building blocks that have to do. So, for example, when we say that we're all part of the same thing, or we're all one intrinsically, that's a true statement, because whether it's living or non-living, we're all made of atoms, atom structures, and the only thing that separates it is the frequencies. So that's what fascinated me, was that it all comes from the same building blocks, and what does that look like? So that's what got me into the dynamics of the geometry. So that's trying to put it, and then that showed how it affected us at a cellular level.
Yeah.
Any kind of organism, it affects us at a cellular level. So that's what fascinated me when I started to see it, and I took it on as a hobby originally because I was well entrenched in business, and then as I got more and more excited and more educated with myself, when I left business in a traditional source, I pursued it with full vigor. And that's what happened in around 2008, 2009, that I went full bore into developing how sacred geometry and principles could benefit us.
Okay, let me ask you this, because there are plenty of people in business, there are plenty of people that deal with geometry. Why do you think you became entranced, or you notice these things when millions of other people could do the same thing, yet they're not? Why you?
Well, I think that's a great question that has a lot to do with people. It has a
Yeah.
lot to do with our complexity. So we all have different intentions with our focus. So once you and I, and here we are talking, we can have different intentions in our life. So that's what we put all our attention to. We put our attention to what our intention is. So what I was looking for was, I saw that this was something that profoundly affected us at a cellular level. So that was my intention, was to go down that path. And when I say that, this is a cell here. Every single organism. Now, this is plant, insect, you, me, sitting here. You started out to look like that. The first thing you did when you split in mitosis is that's what you did. That's what you did. And then that mimics the geometry that I was looking for. It's right here.
Mhm.
So this is a blueprint. Now, the bee is the same, the reptile is the same, the plant's the same. So now we're intrinsically connected. And this is then how the difference between building healthy cells and against environments that make it go negative. In other words, make us sick. So that's what fascinated me, and that was my intention. And so my intention was probably different than a lot of other people that
Mhm.
were looking to do other things, and they were using math for that. This communication that you and I are doing, it works fabulous. The algorithms for this are amazing for communicating, but they're not good for ourselves. They're not healthy for us. So those are two different things. You understand what I'm saying? You
Mhm.
can have something that works great technically, but it doesn't work great humanistically or medically, right? So, or health wise. And those are just different intentions.
Okay, I want to go into this again. I feel like I just do. That you were in a corporate world, these things came up for you, and it sounds like you switched your whole level of being and your whole level of focus, that you were in a corporate environment, money, payments, and then you just went, I'm not going to do that anymore. Or I know you sold off as well, so you had
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
freedom. But I guess I guess I just want to know more about your heart.
Yeah, well, no, and you know what? It's an excellent question because here's where it led me.
Yeah.
I apart from all business, and we can all relate to this of what we do in our lives,
Hmm.
my number one thing that I wanted to do in this life is I didn't want to go through life, no matter how good or I was enjoying it or whatever I was doing, and get to the end of my life where I didn't even know how it worked. I had no idea what I was in.
All right.
In
Thank
other
you.
words, religion traditional religions couldn't answer that for me. It
Mm.
couldn't answer for me. So what I was looking for is I knew at a core level, at a natural level of the way it works here, that there was a common bond as to everything structured. So what I did is what I found out through the sacred geometry was it led to quantum physics. It actually led to the atom structures itself. And then that frequency is what changes everything from one thing to the other. And therefore, we're all coming out of the same thing. So then it led me to, let's say this, if anything's possible out there, I call that the infinite universe, so that all possibilities are there and all knowledge is there. But why does one thing happen versus another? And my discovery was when you put that focus out, in other words, that intention, then it picks up on that and that's what it creates. So we have trillions of things that are created based on the vibrations of what it happens. And that just absolutely gave me what I was looking for to understand how this all works. So that was the epiphany.
Okay. I think so. So for me, I was in the corporate world as well, and I was like feeling off in my life and ended up starting this deep meditation class. And it was for me at the time I had disconnected from God because I tried to find God, couldn't make that work. And then through this class, suddenly I discovered my spirituality and my connection with all things and energy. And it did radically change my life and how I saw the world. And then it radically changed who I am and what I'm going to do in the future. Because the same thing for me, I couldn't imagine going back into the corporate world because it doesn't feed my soul anymore, because I also know
Mm.
there's so much more. And it sounds like that it ticked the box for that for you. How do you feel about, and this, and we'll go into the bees in just a second, but I'm taking this
Sure.
tangent. How do you feel about spirit and God, however the wording works for you, now that you've discovered all this and you're working with this and that we're all connected? How does that make you feel?
Well, it was complete liberation for me. What it gave me was the knowing or the belief, because that's a better word, of the belief that all of us are incredibly capable of being able to manifest into our life and utilize what people call God and I call universal intelligence, the same thing, is that we can tap into that, but it was learning how to communicate with it. So it's that communication. So
Mm-hmm.
traditional religions through prayer, and it works very effectively. That's why all religions, doesn't matter what religion you're in, if you pray, it works.
Oh,
It's
prayer is
because
awesome.
and meditation. So what it is if we go away from the dogma or the rules, the principles are all straightforward. How do you communicate with that higher intelligence to bring into your life what you're looking for, the life that you are?
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically it's outside of the logical and it's inside of the emotional. So what that then is then how do you get there? So I built an entire building. I think it's right here. I can show you. I built an entire meditative building that blocked out all distraction, because that's the first thing you have to do is you have to block out the distractions. We're
Yes.
in a world of complete, incredible distraction. So you get that blocked out. Then you get to, and that scares a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you get all the distraction. Then you get it zeroed down. Then you have to go into with an intent, a very strong intent of what you're looking for in your life. And we're all different. Once you get clear on that, you go in and you put all your attention to it, whether it be meditation or through the environment. And what I found that as I started to do more and more and more practice, I could go into it and I'd get from the bottom of my spine right up to the top, I'd get a shiver like that. As soon as I got that shiver, it was like a phone call went out and exactly what I was looking for manifest into my life. And we all have it. We all have it. The problem is we're disconnected from it. We're completely disconnected from it
Yes.
in our lives, particularly in the way we live and work in our societies, right? Now, I'm not knocking all the different things people are doing, and that takes us back to business, because business completely distracts you from that world
Mm-hmm.
and puts you into a different world. But if you're looking to connect, it is through once you understand the principles of because the geometry really goes into the the quantum atom structures that really we're working with, and then how your mind can work with them, and then how you bring that into your life for what you're looking for, the love, the family, or the connection, the feeling of not being isolated. All of those things comes to you because we all are that, and we're transmitter and receivers, but we transmit like a floodlight, not like a laser, right? It's just all over the place. So once you get into these things, we start to affect our little cells that are in our body, which there's trillions of them. And once you start to affect them and communicate, but it has to be communicated in a way that they get that communication. And when we talk about frequency, when you eat food, that just is
Mm-hmm.
converted into frequency. So everything that you look around, every animal, every aspect, it's just in conversion of one energy to another. You burn firewood, now it's charcoal. A rabbit eats grass and then it's eaten by something else, but that's just a conversion of energy. And that's what's going on here all the time. And the bees tie into that as well. And so that's what excited me, was to be able to actually work here with our God-given principles of how it comes and how the universal intelligence has structured this.
There we go. Right on the money. I love that. There are a couple of questions that I derived from that discussion, but I want to go into the bees right now because we could just talk about
Okay.
a lot of things. All right, so I did some research that I want to take just a moment to read. Okay, clear my throat. All right, so June 16th, 2025, from Auburn Agriculture, so Auburn University. The annual U.S. beekeeping survey results are in for the 2024-2025 calendar year. In collaboration with Auburn University, the Apiary Inspectors of America, Oregon State University, and others, the national survey estimated that 55.6% of managed honeybee colonies were lost in the country between April 2024 to April 2025. This is a 0.5%. Okay, this is a 0.5% increase from last year's survey results. Based on the results from the survey, U.S. beekeepers experienced record high losses for the 24-25 season for the second year in a row. All right, I'm going to keep reading some of these things. So, environmental blog, declining bee populations across the U.S. have reached an alarming level. Recent reports that beekeepers lost an average of 62% of their colonies between June 2024 and February 2025, a catastrophic loss of approximately 1.1 million colonies nationwide. This is a direct threat to our agriculture and food production. I've got more on that in a second because I really wanted to know. Major factors, they said, contributing to this decline include parasites, diseases, pesticides, habitat loss, and environmental changes. All right, get this. From Farm and Dairy, June 16, 2025, their website said the decline is related to the Vero mite, and I might not be saying that correctly. And thank goodness the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency proposed to register a new pesticide, May 29th, that will target these mites. March 1st, 2025, the site Green Matter said the problem was the lack of plant, decrease in foliage. Okay, so here's the bigger picture. All right, how would a loss of bees impact food production? All right. Pollination is crucial to growing and producing many foods we eat every day. It isn't just our food that would be impacted by bee extinction. Many of the crops that we use to feed our livestock, namely clover, alfalfa, and soybeans, are pollinated by the bees. Fruits such as apricots, avocados, apples, tomatoes, melons, cherries, I'm going to keep going, peaches, citrus fruits, cranberries, and blueberries are all pollinated by bees, as are vegetables including cucumbers, broccoli, asparagus, celery, and squash. All right, I got a little bit more. The almonds, sunflowers for our seeds and oils also require the assistance of bees. It also goes without saying that honey is out of the question. Okay, this is interesting too. According to the Obama White House archives, bee pollination is responsible for an estimated 35% of all global food population. All right, a little bit more. This is from Britannica. There are about 20,000 species of bees in the world, and they are probably the most important insect pollinators. Okay, tell me what you think about this, Brent, when we're done. If all the world's bees died off, there would be a major rippling effect throughout ecosystems. Beyond plants, many animals such as bee-eater birds would lose their prey in the event of a die-off, and this would also impact natural systems and food webs. In terms of agriculture, the loss of bees would dramatically alter human food systems, but would not likely lead to famine. The majority of human calories still come from cereal grains, which are wind pollinated. Many fruits and vegetables, however, are insect pollinated and could not be grown at such a large scale so cheaply without bees. Blueberries and cherries, for example, rely on honeybees up to 90% of their population. Okay, I thought this was interesting. Although hand pollination is a possibility, it is incredibly labor intensive and expensive. Tiny robotic pollinator drones have been developed in Japan, but remain prohibitively expensive for entire orchards or fields of time-sensitive flowers. All right, what, in your estimation, is the truth of all that?
Well, that's a mixed bag of a bunch of things there.
Yes.
Well, let's start off by this.
Thank you.
The bees being affected to the level they are is an indication, forgetting all of that data about how much pollinating they do and how much food, which is probably about 70%, not 30%.
Okay.
But forgetting all that, they're an indication of our survival. So it's not just about if they weren't there would we have food and we have this and things. There's the reasons that they're having such problems is the same reason that we're having problems that are not being talked about heavily, because they're not in a tremendous die-off. They're just in tremendous people being sick all over the place, right? So the same things that are affecting the bees are affecting us. We're intrinsically connected, because, as I mentioned to you before, cellularly we all look the same. There is no difference. So that's number one. So the bees are an important indicator as to our health in our systems. So that is, forgetting when they're talking about varroa mites, they're only one of the problems in the fact that they want to sell another pesticide or whatever
Right.
they want to do. But the truth is, as they mentioned, there's many areas. It has to do, there's 5G, there's lack of food source, there's lack of availability for the space for the bees to work in, right? There's those areas like urbanization, things like that.
Okay.
Then we get into the weakened immune system by other pesticides that are harmful to them, that are unrelated to to the mites, but are being for food sources. So all of these things add up really to what the bees are, is like us, is their immune systems are being compromised, same as we are, same as by us being exposed to these same things where we live, being inundated by over weird and unusual frequencies or communication frequencies. So that's across the board, and that's why I elected to go and work on the bees, because the placebo isn't there. Like they're not complex. They don't have the human emotions and
Yeah.
mental capacities of what they're up against. The bees will react cleanly if they're getting a clean environment. And you're doing something, you're going to get the results. Whereas with humans, it's way more complex than that, right? So
Yeah.
that's the area that I decided to go into, but it works very cleanly for us. If we do the same things in our environment, like for cleaning our food or sleeping in that better environment, we have thousands of customers that use the Pure Wave cell for themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
we do the bees and the beekeepers and give it, but people use it personally, and I use it personally, and that was my interest, was my own physical health. When you were talking before about, hey, what drives you, I wanted to know how things work, but I was also, as we get older, my number one interest is my health. I mean, without health, I can't do anything, and it doesn't matter how much money you have or what you're doing
Yeah.
or what your politics is. If you don't have your health, it's the end game. So that especially at where we're at my age, is that it's the prime directive. So I'm constantly looking at what helps us on a health basis without interfering, without using chemicals.
Okay,
So,
can you quickly, for people that
yep,
what is your age?
I'm 70.
Okay, and for those who are listening, Brent, you look really good. you
Oh,
don't
well,
you
thank
don't
you.
look you
Thank
don't
you.
look the traditional 70. Okay, can I ask you real quick, why bees, knowing that, taking from what you've said, they are a reflection of us, what drew you there? Was it in your studies that was like where I need to be? Why that?
Well, it didn't. Yeah, that's great. Great question, because it didn't start out that way.
Yeah.
I started out just wanting to know how these cleaner frequencies
Hmm.
could affect us as humans, health
Okay.
wise. So when I built the Chrysalis lab to do the tests into, it was all people that came, and I was exposing them to the frequencies inside there, and we were getting just amazing results as to
Yeah.
what was going on for us and for you physically. And that was going on from about 2009, 10 to about 5 years. And all I was doing was researching and playing around with, and not just magnetic frequencies, but I was dealing with sound, color therapies, and so forth. And I realized that the results were really profound, that we were getting for myself and many people that were coming and experiencing it. But it was in 2015 that I was made aware for the first time about the bee loss, the incredible, amounts of bees that were being lost, because it
Yeah.
became more publicized and it was more known to myself. And I was thinking, okay, and I was very happy to be doing what I was doing, just the research. I don't think I've ever been as happy, because I was just in my own world and I wasn't doing any business. It was bliss for me.
Okay, and I have to ask you,
And
the sale of your company allowed you the freedom just to do what you wanted to do. Is that correct?
yes,
That's
yes,
amazing.
that's correct.
Awesome.
Yes, that is exactly was the gift for me, was that I didn't have to focus on money
Yeah.
anymore as far as that. Um, but again, my goal wasn't to utilize that money for personal pleasure. My pleasure was what I was looking for. So
Yeah.
that my joy was I wanted these things. Right? That I wanted to understand this about how things worked, and so I was in my joy to do that. And then someone said, "Well, why don't you take a look and see if it affects humans? But how about the bees?" So I started off with a test in June of 2015. I went to an organic beekeeper, and she had in a 50-yard radius, she had 14 hives that were 50 yards apart. So she had 7 in one area and 7 in another. And what I liked about it is they were all feeding on the same food sources. They were all identical. And I decided to put the pure wave cells with her permission in the 7 hives, and then the other one was just left the way
Okay.
she
So,
treats it. Yeah.
Brent, when you showed up, was she just like, okay, whatever? You, I don't really understand that. How is she accepting of you and this technology that you were bringing to her?
Yeah, yeah, it was. That's a great question because when I was I reached out to a number of beekeepers and it was like no go. And so then this 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 particular gal, Christine, she said, no, well, listen, well, wait a minute, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm not going to touch your bees. I'm not going to do anything. I just want to put this and explained what it was.
Okay.
And I said, so it can't harm them. That was the biggie. It can't harm them. It would just be, it'll be nothing or it'll be normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then she asked some more questions and things. And I just said, this is what it is. And so she said, oh, I'll give it a go because I'm just going to do my natural. And she was kind of organic. She was really big on organic seeds. So this is where she was different. And she didn't like the, what was it, Mentos, the seed producers
Mm-hmm.
and, controlling all of that. So she was into that. And I came and put those in. And the difference was absolutely outstanding. What happened was the difference in, so the bees that didn't have it in it that she was treating with chemicals, they produced a fifth of the honey that the ones that the cell was in. She noticed the swarming, the strengths, all these things, and we have interviews on this with her and other beekeepers. What happened? So she still didn't know why it did that, but she was like super excited as to and everything else was the same with the bees. So it wasn't like they were in a different area or something,
Okay. Did it happen pretty quickly? That there
Yeah.
started to
Oh
be
yeah. We put
changes?
it in June, and by August we were knowing this, right, already.
Whoa.
And also it was amazing how the bees reacted too.
Yeah.
So they really embraced it. It was like because what bees will do if they don't like something that's in the hive or they don't want it there, they'll do what's called a propolis. They'll mummify it in this propolis material, which is a waxy material. So let's say a dead mouse gets in there, they'll mummify it so that it doesn't interfere with the hive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't touch the disc. Not even, it was clean as going in as coming out, and they used to hover around it and they hung around it because we made it where they had to go over it in and out. And we'll show what this looks like.
Okay, yeah, because
And
can you go
and
ahead, Brent, and show? I know you've got a disc behind you on your screen. Can you hold? Do you have one to hold up, or can you point to it? And is it
I
about the size of your
yes,
hand? Just
yeah.
for
I'll
those who
go
aren't watching.
just 1 second. I'll get it for you. I'll get
Okay,
it. Just one
hang on
second.
just a moment. From what I understand, I'll go ahead and sit. I think it's about the size of your hand as well. So, all right. Yeah. Okay. So Brent's got it in his hand. It's like a black.
That's the outer case, but this is what it looks like inside.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Sacred geometry. Let's go.
So then we take this. So take this
Mm-hmm.
like that, and then these are the very strong neodymium magnets. That each one of those is like they want to come together. If I open that, they will snap your fingers to try and come together.
Mm-hmm.
And because I want to hold this shape, I won't let them come together, and that's what creates the frequency. So it's like this. It's doing this all the time because those magnets want to come together, and I won't let them come together. And so that then creates this algorithm. It creates what I'm looking for here. And the shape is so important because otherwise frequencies are chaotic. So I
Yeah.
want to lock into one frequency. And what does that frequency do? It right here. It's right there to affect into here. So the cells respond to it because that's where they come from. That's their blueprint, right? They didn't go into that for no reason.
Hmm.
That's very specific. And that's why they respond. This is
Okay.
where we come from. Yeah.
So this little disc that you've created to hold this frequency, just placing it on a beehive, correct? And they wouldn't mummify it?
Placing it in the runners where where the bees come in and out.
Yes.
They have to be in contact with it all the time.
Okay. All right. Please proceed. Thank you for that explanation. Love it.
No problem. Now, so then what happened is the results were profound with what was going on and the production of honey. And she realized how healthy what those hives were versus the other hives. Now they still produced honey, the other hives, but it was like radical different. It was radical different as to what the difference. There was no question about it. And then I went and I took that information and I went, oh, okay, this is interesting and all of that kind of thing. So they were producing in her hives about 240 pounds of honey per
Mhm.
hive, and in the other hives it was about 20 to 25.
Whoa, that's staggering.
Yeah, no, it was profound. It was profound difference.
Yes.
And now an average hive would probably produce 100 to 100 and like 100 pounds of like an average good healthy hive. So hers the ones were not performing, and the cells were outperforming by more than double, right, of an average of what an average hive, and an average bee population would be about 30,000 bees roughly
Okay.
per hive, right?
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know anything about beekeeping or bees. This is right. This is not my background. I just
Yeah.
was, now also the mites. Remember back you were talking about the mites.
Yeah.
The mite population was normal in the non-treated hives, but it was down to like 5%. Like there was no mites in like almost virtually no mites in those other hives, whereas you always have mites, and that's the same as us because those bees were so healthy, they could ward off the mite infestation.
So,
Because they have a little drawer. They have a
yeah.
drawer at the bottom where like when they treat beehives with a chemical to
Yeah.
kill the mites, they all fall to the bottom.
All right. So they're
So what
visible.
she
Like
they're
you can see
visible.
them.
So
Okay.
so um, she was able to see the difference, which was mind blowing, right?
Okay. Was she
Is to
freaked out as well? Was she just like, oh my, I can't?
Oh yeah, no, like she was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is like, really, really. But then this is where it starts because I'm going, okay, well, what do I want to do with this? Because
Yeah.
you start to get into commercial beekeepers, and they're the ones that are like super skeptical,
Hmm.
and they're like, hey, don't tell us. So I thought, okay, well, here, what I'll do. This was 215, 216. I went on to do some more development, and then we hit into COVID. When COVID hit,
Yeah.
but people were saying, you got to get out there and you've got to, get this out to the beekeepers. And I was really hesitant because I knew that if I do this, if I go out into the world, I'm going to be back into the mainstream again. I'm coming out of my bubble, right? Where I'm comfortable and all of this
Yeah.
kind of thing. I'm going to have to do a whole bunch more work, in other words, right?
And here
So,
you are on
well,
my podcast and other podcasts. Like you're
well,
out there.
exactly.
It
And
seems
and
like now.
and
Okay.
I'm not a podcaster. This is not my thing, right? So what? So I'm going. So what happened then was they're saying, well, you got to get out there and do this, and it's important and all that kind of thing. And I thought, well, yeah, but I'm going to have to organize this in a way. And then COVID hit, and I thought, well, what a great time, because I can't go anywhere. Why not put a whole plan together of what that looks like to go
Okay.
out there? So I contacted through COVID a major commercial beekeepers, and
Whoa.
I said, look, I'm just going to give you this stuff. Do this with me. Will you do this? And through COVID, I was doing a little testing with them, and they were the most skeptical. And to this day, they'll say the only reason they did it was because there was no cost and no work. They could just throw them into the hives,
Yet they still did it
and
though.
that
They still
oh,
could
they
have
did
said
it.
no. So that's
Yeah,
amazing within
it
itself.
was. They were a little bit more advanced in their thinking,
Okay.
and then that went really well. I mean, that went really well, and so then I started 4RBees in 222, I believe,
Hmm.
4 years ago, because I realized I have to start the company because now we're going to give these out to beekeepers for free. And I started a mission-driven company called 4RBees, which is
Hmm.
behind me,
Hmm.
which is because the beekeepers have to get this for free. What I realized, if we really want to support and help the bees, we have to look after the beekeepers. They
Hmm.
control 96% of all bees. They're the ones that control them. So we have
Seriously.
to, Yeah, so we had to go out there. The real secret was get them up and healthy, and then the bees will follow. And that's what we do. We give everything free to the beekeepers, the seedings. We do seed parties. We give out the technology, but it's the public that has stand up to support that. So when they have bought the pure wave cells for themselves and our honey, because the byproduct that came out of it, the honey was exceptional. It was like incredible honey because we only take it from those hives that have the pure wave cell in it. We only get them from those hives. So we said, well, we'll pay you a premium for that. So we've gone to the beekeepers. We draw the honey from those hives, and then I have the major technology of frequency that we treat the honey, and we have a thing called um, um, energized frequency honey, which is called pure wave honey. And it's called Pure Wave. It's on our site. People can see it. It's Pure Wave honey. And it's considered by all the feedback we get some of the best tasting and most healthy honey that you can buy because it's not heated, it's raw, it's creamed so that it never has never been put to heat. It has all its enzymes and it's coming from those hives.
Could you, Brent, could you ever imagine that this would be the direction that this has led you in?
Not at all. Like on the other, like a million miles in the opposite direction
Yes. Okay. In
from
terms of,
from my background, right?
yeah. All right. So in terms of getting beekeepers, okay. So how many beekeepers do you have right now who are part of a part of your program?
We have well, first of all, we're all over the world now. We are in the States, Canada. We are
Okay.
in Africa. We're in parts of Europe, Norway. We probably are dealing right now with 50 around 50 beekeepers, but some of those beekeepers are commercial. So some
Okay.
of those beekeepers in the commercial aspect, they have like 800 hives, eight,
Gotcha.
900 hives. So
Okay.
we're in thousands of hives right now, as far as hives going. But soon this is our year because we had to what we had to do and this is where I knew the work was coming in is that we had to finish our research. We did 3-year research, separate research with Dr. Magda Havas to make sure that it was working everywhere.
Hmm.
It wasn't just a fluke with a group of beekeepers. And it was working all over. So we had to go through that, and we finished that more than 8 months ago. That was finished.
Wow.
That report is on our site, and why that was important is that everybody, the public out there, could count on what we're doing. And this year, we're now looking to take off and go into literally hundreds of thousands of hives. And we're going on major campaign, and that will all go out to beekeepers for free. We're looking to go 500 to 800 billion bees in the next 12 months. But we had to wait to make sure that we were ready to do that. So that will be the operation this year where we couldn't do that until we wanted to line all the ducks up, for that. Right. So this is a big year for us.
This okay. Let me ask you this, and not because I feel that during this great awakening, we are, especially in 2026, like hitting these milestones, and the energy is just really starting to flow. And knowing you are okay. I know you talked about, or I mentioned before, not going the big pharma route because there would be potentially, well, there would be pushback with that. Do you think because this is going to change the direction, let's say, that the powers that be, they want us to be unhealthy, they want us to not have good immune systems, and that you are really starting to make an impact on that? Do you think there's going to be some pushback, or have you experienced that yet?
Well, then there was exactly the reason that you mentioned earlier that I went into the bees and not the human health.
Yeah.
So I'll explain it this way. Right now, we live in the world of chemistry, pharmaceuticals, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Now,
Indeed.
I don't know if you remember this. I mean, it's certain age groups remember it better than others. Do you remember the term exploratory surgery?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what they used to do is they used to cut you open to find out what was wrong with you. Yeah. Now, what do they do today? They use frequency medicine, i.e., MRIs,
Mm-hmm.
right? CAT scans and so forth. That's how they diagnose you now. So they use frequency to do that. Well, that's physics. But when they go to treat you, what do they use? Right back to chemical. It's
Mm-hmm.
right back to chemical. So what's going to happen and what's going to happen is that's going to cross over eventually. What's going to happen is they're going to treat you with frequency down the road. But there's going to be a whole hula about that because that's the money world. That's going to be the whole,
Yes.
that's the pharmaceuticals. And I'm not, I'm just saying that's what's going to come because
Mm-hmm.
it's already come on the front end, right? So if they diagnose you with the disease, it's done with frequency, but when they treat you, it's gone back to chemical, right? So eventually that'll squeeze off and that'll be down the road. So what I was interested in now with the bees, there isn't that kind of scrutiny because the bees aren't humans, right? That's a different thing. Now, where I'm going out there is I'm not selling things to bees or beekeepers. We're giving those to them, and what we're doing is non-invasive. So we're going and using those frequencies to build up immune systems, but also the food sources and the practical things for seeding and so forth that we allow the public to say, well, geez, I feel so out of control, and what can I do and how can I help? Well, this is how you can do it. So we give a vehicle where they can come in and support us, and we'll do it for them. We will go out there and make this happen, and we'll go out there and make sure these beekeepers have that, because it's even a financial support when they have to replace queens or what's called nukes environment. We'll pay for those in instances, so that's all part of our support back to the beekeepers. We select them. They come on all the time. We have right now we have over probably 100, 150 applicants coming on, but we'll take more and more and more as we are able to support them, and they're all over the place. And then they can start to, like in Africa, they're supporting school systems and food sources. So it's a domino effect. It goes into the whole dominoes of it. You get into the school systems where they're using honey instead of chocolates and things like that, where they can then bring in those support systems. So we're kind of a vehicle that's allowing people to do something rather than say, geez, we hate what we're hearing, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't know what we can do about it. And that's what 4RBees is. It's a vehicle to get right out there, but it's more than bees. It will be more than that because it's environment. We have people
Yeah.
contacting us now that want to leave tracts of land. They want those frozen out so they can only be for bees. So you start to get those things going. And we can make a difference. We really can make a difference with how that's operating and working. And hey, if that's a small difference in the world, that's a difference. That
Yeah.
has made a difference.
Well, it sounds like potentially a big difference. And it sounds like I'm connecting with it spiritually that you're also gathering an army that when the beekeepers are affected and that also affects them money wise. And it's just like, I feel that people will fight for this too, that if there's ever a challenge with it or yeah, it feels very solid. How are beekeepers coming to you now? Is it word of mouth? Are they starting to the highly beneficial proponents of what you're doing? Is it starting to wave out to people so they just know at this point?
Yeah, well, it's you nailed a few parts of it. Through the podcast, they see it.
Mm-hmm.
Through other people that have purchased, a word of mouth. We get contacted all the time now that we heard it from this. We heard it from a podcast. We're doing this. So we would like to know how we can get pure wave cells into our hive. So that's coming all the time. But we've controlled it by how much exposure. We still haven't done social media or advertising
Mm-hmm.
because we want to make sure that we balance how much we can give out to what's going, and we do.
Mm-hmm.
We have a full program on that, which we're very proud to just really be getting that organized so that we can really look after the beekeepers. But you said something that was really interesting. When there's a saying that's when an idea and mission has come, the right one,
Mm-hmm.
all the armies in the world can't stop it. You can't stop it. When something comes that's right, it doesn't matter what the interference or doesn't want it, you can't stop it. It will come in because you can't stop the people once they've decided. Once they've decided something in mass, there is no stopping it. That's the beauty, and that's the hope that we have out there. And I always say to everybody, nature, don't you fret about whatever you're seeing and what you think is coming at you, because nature always wins. Always. Always. It will
Yes.
always win.
You got that. So I'm also looking at all the threats that are being put on Mother Nature, and I'm just like, she is going to. It doesn't matter what you do. She is going to fix herself. She is always going to balance herself. Yet having humanity really help with that, really help her too, and the love and
Yeah.
all of that. I
Yeah.
am going to be part of you guys, and like I was excited initially by it. Yet talking with you here today, Brent, I'm just, what's the word? I want to use the highest frequency word. It just feels really good. I'm really excited with what you guys are doing. And it's so, it's so needed right now. And I also know, like, it's interesting talking to you, and so many people that I have on the show that, there's some really evil, hard things going on in the world right now. Yet
Yeah. Yeah.
the point of this podcast is to always go, okay, there's this undercurrent of goodness and beauty, and we cannot stop going this beautiful direction. And you're a part of that. Would now be good to show the video?
Sure. Yeah, because I like that, because I really like for the audience, we talk and I talk about it, and some of it's like, well, trying to visualize it. Well,
Yeah.
this video will give them a really good indication, and it has the beekeepers in there as well. So
All right,
it'll be
let's do
good.
it. Thank you, Lisa.
Welcome to the world of inventions for energy medicine. I'm Bee Broda. According to the Canadian Association of Professional Apiculturists, Canada lost almost 50% of their bee population in 2022. Researchers at the University of Waterloo feel insecticides are compromising the bee's immune system. Dr. Magda Havis, Professor Emerita at Trent University School of the Environment, believes magnetic fields also play an important role in the health and wellness of the honeybee population.
We did some research at Trent University where we were studying the effects of radiofrequency radiation on the bees. We had some beehives at a farm and exposed them to current household items that we have that emit wireless radiation. One of the things we noticed is that the bees started coming out of the hive very, very quickly.
You look at their behavior, they're all just quite happily, they're not running around, they're kind of very settled, they're fanning, they're keeping the place cool and protecting. As these ones are running up and down at the entrance. The sounds here is not normal.
Dr. Havis is participating in a long-term research study on the use of geomagnetic fields to enhance insect and human immune systems and negate the effects of environmental pollution that may be causing the collapse of the honeybee population. This research is based upon a geometric array of 12 high-intensity magnets that are encased inside a hard enclosure to create a pure wave cell. The opposing polarities of the magnets create a spiral vortex that emanate outwards in all directions. This spiral pattern can be observed with magnetic viewing film. Liquid ferrofluid placed in a dish on top of the pure wave cell shows the invisible, evenly spaced magnetic lines rising upwards. This is an internal view of the magnets. A pure wave cell can be used to control the growth of pathogens. The vortex suppresses bacterial infestation. Spores grown in a petri dish that were not exposed to the magnet shows a proliferation of fungal growth. A study has been completed at Pathogenia Food Laboratories to determine the efficiency to reduce pathogens in food. Brewer's yeast, E. coli, Staphylococcus and Listeria were added to meat and fruit and then treated for 5 minutes on the magnetic disc. Ground chicken and raspberries were chosen for inoculation. This study demonstrates 3 forms of Listeria were not reduced in the chicken, but showed almost a 50% reduction in the raspberries. Surprisingly, one form of brewer's yeast grew 50% faster in the meat, while another was reduced a similar amount in the fruit. The various forms of E. coli were eliminated in the raspberries. And all forms of Staphylococcus have been significantly reduced. When you immerse food inside a PureWave, there are many examples of how it can prolong the shelf life. Here, cauliflower remains fresh after several days, while unexposed control samples show signs of food spoilage. Research on honey is carried out here.
The first year we had 10 magnets, and we were quite happy with it. Last fall we ended up with 30 magnets in the 1B yard.
In this yard here, there's about 30 hives. This yard did not get the discs, and when I came in to unpack the hives, half the yard was dead, and the half that survived, there were barely any bees, and they were not looking good at all. And now in this yard, we wintered 30 hives in here. All 30 got the magnetic disc. When I unpacked it, all 30 were alive and overflowing with bees to the point where I had to split almost every hive in this yard. But it's swarming because they've run out of room. Like, it's just a super strong hive.
Dr. Havas feels that the magnets are improving the immune system of the honeybee as they move through the PureWave magnetic field while foraging for nectar in the farms and forest. Many beekeepers have great success with the magnets, not only having a healthy hive, but they have found an increase in the yield of honey. Education plays an important role with the company that produces the magnets. They organize workshops called 4RBees to teach a new generation of potential beekeepers how to plant wildflower seeds in open pastures to help support the health and wellness of our insect pollinators. For more information on how you can help save the bees, visit 4RBees.com.
Okay, there you go. Is there one cell per? I don't even know what they're called. One cell per house. Typically,
it's a hive. A hive would be that one box area you see. Now there's different risers. What they do, as the bees produce more bees, they have what they stack them up. What's called risers. So you'll have some hives like this and some like this.
Okay.
That's why the first yard you saw, those hives were like this, and the second one you saw, they're like this, because those bees need room. They got to give them more room to work, right? Yeah.
Okay. And for those of you guys watching, my name came up there. So I love being able to offer 20% off for all y'all's products as well. So for those who can't see, Eden Koz, Eden, EDENKOZ, Just Be, to get 20% off these amazing.
No, we're honored
products.
to give that to you. We're honored to give that to your group for just, we're so grateful for them watching this and supporting and give that to your group. So it's for you, honoring to bring us on to show this. And this is the way we get to show everybody what we're doing. And, and we keep building content all over. Like over the next years, we'll just be having it that people can see really dynamically what their contributions are doing. Well, as they have their honey and they have their PureWave cells for themselves as well.
Ooh, okay. So yeah, I appreciate being part of it. And I was traveling recently and was talking with someone who is friends with a beekeeper, and I knew you guys, but I wasn't so connected yet. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I should tell them about 4RBees. Is that how, in terms of like your army, like even with me, if I come across a beekeeper, just saying, "Hey, why don't you try this?" Who would I have them go to your website, or what would I do?
Great point. So you go to the website, and there's a section under there's a section which is the information beekeepers, and you click and it goes down, and it will show you how you sign up as a beekeeper, how you go through it. It's all on our website for beekeepers. If they have any problem with it, they can send us a message at info@4RBees, and we'll direct them into it. Because sometimes, it's called I think on our site it's called Get Involved Beekeeper Program. That's what they look for. That's it. I mean, it's pretty specific. And so if you have someone, just send them there.
Okay.
We reach out to them. We go over what they are, how experienced, they are as a beekeeper, what they're doing, and we put them, and then we look to support them. When we take them on, we will be sending them out, depending on the situation, the pure wave cells, for their hives.
Okay. Are there qualifications that need to be met in terms of experience, or what would potential limitations be?
Yes. Yeah, there is. And it's all listed because we can give the best technology in the world out, but if it's an inexperienced beekeeper that's not doing the right things, then they're going to have problems no matter what. So we just go through that and what that is, what we're looking at. And then there's a whole support team on if you've got a new beekeeper over the next year or two, how they can learn more from other beekeepers and so forth, like that as well.
Oh my gosh, a whole other world. And Lisa, who works with you, she was also telling me at some point that from her perspective, that it's almost like no beekeeper does it the same way. There are just different ways of doing it. There are different methodologies. There are different histories. And it seems like there are a lot of also family-owned generational beekeeping. So they might have a one structured way of doing it. So that was interesting to me because I figured it was all you do it this way and it works out really great.
Yeah.
All right, Brent, I'm going to have you in a second close us out with what I do at the end for anyone who's new to the show. I do a Just Bee practice at the end of each show, which basically can be, it's led by the guest. It can be anything to ascend you, to evolve you, to give you more information. But before we get to that, is there anything else that is pivotal for us to know about you, about what you're doing? Yeah, anything?
I would just like to say again, when we've been honored enough to go on podcasts and get our word out, we've had tremendous support from everyone because there is a real passion and love for bees out there, and beyond what I ever knew. And one of the things that I've learned really, it's just the act of people coming in and supporting us and allowing us to get what we want out to the beekeepers and do it in mass has just been a gift for us. I mean, because that's our mission. That's what we're looking to do. And I just wanted to say thank you to the people watching and so forth on that, and follow us in the future, because we'll continue to expand up and show you what we're doing and how we're getting the job done. So it's not just this isn't just about selling products and doing things. This is about getting it out there and expanding and making a change out there.
Nice. And I know you've been on a lot of podcasts that are similar with mine in terms of the Great Awakening, in terms of people that really know what's going on. I've seen you on some other ones too that are just very health oriented. So our populations, for those who know about the Great Awakening, they are very motivated to help with change, to be a part of something very action forward. So I appreciate that on that level as well. Let me clear my throat for a second. All right, Brent, what would you bring us today to help us evolve, help us be calmer, get rid of distractions? Yeah, what would you like to do today?
Just be practice.
Well, I thought when you mentioned that prior and things, I mentioned the biggest thing that what I would like to convey to everybody is the fear factor. The fact of what fear is created around us is unbelievable today, through everything that everybody's exposed to, and there's so many areas and everybody knows what I'm talking about. And I just would like everybody to know that you can have an inner calm to know that, as we said earlier, nature always wins. She will always make her shift. There'll always be groups of us that will band together and do what we need to do to make these changes. There's no question about that. And that you as individuals have the power as a transmitter receiver, incredible human being that you are, is that when you decide to get rid of the distractions, whatever they are in your life, get to where you need to be, and then quietly ask yourself what's important to you, because you're constantly being told what's important to everybody else and what you should pay attention to and what you should be afraid of or what you shouldn't be afraid of. That's constant. Just get in yourself and discover what's important for you, and then focus on that and get an intent, because that incredible universal intelligence is just waiting for you. It's waiting for you. I always give this analogy for people that have children that have now reached the age of 2. And the 2-year-old goes into what's called a 2-year-old tantrum, where they're stamping their feet and shaking. And the truth is you can't do anything for them until they run out of energy and they calm down. And then you go in and then you start to guide them. We're the same. We're stamping our feet. We're chaotic. We're crazy. And that universal force is dying to come in and help us out. But it can't until we calm down, until we're ready to receive it. Right. So that's the number one message, is just get ready to receive it and your life will change.
I love that. And it's so true. When you have your, I call it your pod in the back, one of the pictures that you set up basically to contradict all the distractions. And what I do also is healing with frequency. And it's so, like, for me too, getting rid of the distractions. Like when I sit and calm and it's just me, and it's just me with the universe, with God, that you are so connected to all that is. And part of, I feel, through the fear is that you have to have a middleman to get you to God, to get you to that. But when you don't, it's just right there, right at your fingertips. All you have to do is be quiet and listen, and then it just starts to come through more automatically. All right, I really want to hit that home with what Brent said. I love that, and I love nature always wins. I think that's going to be the beautiful battle cry that I'm going to take from this as well, which I knew that already, but it's so fun to hear you say that. Brent, best of luck with everything. Thank you so much for bringing all of it on the show today. And I don't know what else. I'll have the website down there, and I know it's behind you as well, 4RBees.com. And till next time, I guess. Anything else?
Yeah. Oh, no, it's such a pleasure to meet you for the first time, and I don't think it'll be the last time. We will connect on many levels, I have no doubt, and thank you again for allowing us to speak to your audience.
Awesome. All right. Bye now, everybody. See you next week. Ta-ta.
Bye-bye. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Y'all, find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Truth Social, as well as Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, plus a plethora of other audio directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So like, subscribe, do it all. See ya.